there, Aubrey. What's shaking?
Not much. How are you, Lindsay?
Feeling great today, but I have a key question for you today. You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, Aubrey, in your daily life or just maybe right now in this moment,
Hmm.
is there anything you are loath to do?
I am loath to swim with my kids right now. Our pool is still ice cold,
Ooh,
in my opinion. It's way too cold and they are ready to swim. They're getting
really?
in. They're like, "Mom, come swim with me." And it's way too cold for me. So I make excuses and I'm like, "I'll just dip my toes in." It's
Yeah.
crazy. So I am really loath to get in that cold swimming pool.
It's funny how we lose our nerve as we get older. It becomes harder and harder to get into swimming pools or cold lakes or the ocean.
Yes,
When we're kids,
right?
we just run in like, woo,
We didn't mind at all. I know. It's maybe our nerve endings are less sensitive when we're younger. I don't know, or we just don't care.
We just don't care. I don't know. We don't think about
Right.
it. I don't know. We think a
This is
lot as adults,
interesting.
don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Well, this is interesting. This word loathe came up in a recent episode. Stay to the end and we'll share which one it is in case you missed it. But I realized when proofreading the transcripts that it is spelled differently if it's an adjective or a verb.
That's a really good
So I
insight.
noticed
Yeah.
like the misspelling and I was like,
Mhm.
but usually I thought it did end with an E. So this is interesting. We're going to share this today. This is a common error by native speakers as well. So not something you really need to stress about. But if you can make this improvement, there will be times where people are impressed. If it's an
Yeah.
email or a written memo or something, especially at work, and you spell this correctly, you're doing better than probably 80% of native
Yeah.
English speakers.
Oh, for sure. And I think even beyond just spelling it correctly, just using it is gonna put you
Absolutely.
probably in the top 25% of native speakers, I think. I don't think
Yes.
this is an average word. I think this is an above average word to use, Aubrey,
I
don't you think?
agree. Yes, it's an impressive word. We're
Mhm.
going to go into both the verb and the adjective, and we're also going to share a few more interesting ways to share this because connection isn't just about things you have in common and things you like. We also
Mhm.
connect about things we loathe, things we
Yes.
dread, things we hate. So
Yes.
this is
Yes.
interesting too. You need to also have this vocab.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're a negative person if you're
No,
always connecting. There can be very positive connection around something you don't wanna do, especially if you share that in
absolutely.
common with someone else. That can be a true connection moment as well, right?
Yes, for sure. We also want to give a shout out. There was a comment on YouTube from Rehaman from India, and there
Mhm.
wasn't a question, but they just said, "I love all your podcasts. Could you please call out my name in your next podcast?" So, hello, Rehaman. Thank you for the YouTube comment, and we wanted to give you a shout out.
Wonderful. And guys, don't forget to go ahead and hit that follow button wherever you're listening. Now, if you're over on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. Just subscribe right there. However, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and hit follow so you make sure you get All Ears English 5 days a week. Okay.
Yes, awesome. All right, let's dive in with this interesting vocabulary. So, when we use the adjective loathe, it's
Mhm.
always in this chunk loathe to do something. And this
Okay.
means to intensely dislike or hate
Mm.
something. So,
Yes.
like at the top of the episode, I'm loath to swim in our pool. Or you might say,
Yes.
I'm loath to go through haunted houses. I really don't like them. This is true for me. I don't like jump scares. I don't want to be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's not fun. Do you like
Yeah,
haunted
I'm
houses,
kind of the
Lindsay?
same way. I love opposite word. I love going on ghost tours,
Oh,
but
yeah, that
that's
I
where I
would
could
like.
just yeah, you could be on the sidewalk and you're safe and it's happening in that house, right? It's not happening to you. It's very different when you're in a haunted house and things are jumping out at you, right?
Right. I think this
Yeah.
is from my brother would do this when I was young. He would jump out from behind a door and grab you and scream. And
Oh,
so I
yeah.
really hate that now. I'm like, please don't jump scare. I don't
Yeah,
like
no,
it.
jump scare. I love that.
But
So
what's
me too.
interesting is loathe this way as an adjective is spelled without an E. It's just
Yes.
Loath, loathe to do something.
Mhm.
So that's tricky. What's another example of
Yeah.
using it this way?
So someone's habits, right? They're
Mm,
nocturnal. How awake are they? What are their habits? He has always been loath to get up early. Okay. Yes, he's just a
mhm.
nighttime person, not a morning person.
Exactly, right? And like Lindsay said, this is a little less common, but it is impressive. It's
Yeah.
impressive vocabulary.
Mhm.
You will hear it. You definitely can use it, but the spelling's a little tricky because there's no E there. What about when there is an E, Lindsay? This is when
Wow.
it's a verb in the
Yeah.
sentence.
To be honest, this is a good review for me too, right? Remembering
Yes,
where the E goes. So we put an
seriously.
E at the end in this case, right? Loathe, and that becomes a verb. Okay. So,
Exactly.
for example, I loathe driving in snowy weather. And I think native speakers tend to punch that loathe too. They
I
put
agree.
some
That almost would be
emotion into it.
strange because it's like intense hatred or
Yes.
dread. So it would be
Mhm.
strange to be like, "I loathe driving in snowy weather." No, you
Yeah.
really emphasize it. I loathe driving in snowy weather.
And it's also one of those kind of full-mouthed words. You need everything happening, so we really indulge in saying that word,
I
okay?
agree. Absolutely. Or maybe she loathes doing homework, right?
Mhm.
It can't be something that you just sort of don't like a little bit. It really has to be a pretty intense feeling.
Mhm. Love it. Love it. All right, Aubrey, where to now? What else do we need to know?
Yeah, so just the main thing is that these are pronounced exactly the same. So when you're speaking, you don't have to worry about this at all. It's like affect and effect that we've talked about recently.
Yes.
Doesn't matter when you're speaking, but they are spelled differently. So when you're writing, if you see the word loathe, you need to take a second. Okay, is this being used as an adjective or a verb? And the big pro tip here is if it's loathe to do something, that's when there's no E because it's an adjective.
Really good to know. So if we're taking the IELTS exam, for example, or if we're
Yeah,
just writing a business email, we need to know, or even a text message to a friend, we need
totally.
to know the difference here. Okay.
Absolutely. But let's
Good.
share some other interesting options because if you're talking about being upset about something or angry or something you dread or hate doing,
Yeah.
there are so many interesting ways to say
Yes.
this, right?
Yes. Yes.
I
Mhm.
really like the word abhor. And
Yeah.
this is actually even stronger than loathe, if you can believe it, because
Ooh.
loathe is pretty strong. But if you say
Mhm.
you abhor something, that's like the most intense dislike that you can get.
Ooh, okay, so for example, I abhor small spaces. I'm definitely claustrophobic. Are you claustrophobic, Aubrey? Do you
I'm not
mind being
really.
in
I
an
don't think so.
elevator? Mhm.
What about
Okay.
you?
No, I don't think so. I had an apartment in New York, so or Tokyo too,
Right.
so
If ever you lived in New
Tokyo is way
York, you
smaller.
can't be claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Yes. You're basically living in a closet.
Yeah, for
But if
sure,
I
for
had to be
sure.
in an elevator for hours and hours, then I might start getting claustrophobic. I can
Yeah.
imagine the length of time definitely would affect that.
Yeah, because your mind would start running, right? That's the
Absolutely.
key. Mhm.
Yes,
Okay, what's
right? Or
another
maybe
example?
this is about Michelle. She
Michelle.
abhors olives.
I
She doesn't even
know.
like the smell of them.
I know. I
It
think
cracks me
all of
up that
our
Michelle doesn't
listeners
love
must
olives.
be.
I love them so much.
And I'm sure a lot of our listeners love, I mean, it's a Mediterranean food. I love olives. I can't imagine a life without olives or
I
olive oil. I
know.
mean, I eat
Oh,
so much
right?
olive oil.
I have a
Yeah.
feeling Michelle does eat olive oil. I think it's just the taste of, like, actual olives, a
Yeah.
bowl of green and
Different.
Kalamata olives, but, oh,
Yeah.
she is missing out. I love them so
Totally.
much.
So abhor is a good one. And then disdain is good. This is
Yeah,
a
and
noun,
well,
right?
this is tricky. It exists as a noun and a verb. So let's go over
Oh.
the noun first. So this is the feeling that something isn't worthy of respect or consideration. So maybe like
Mhm.
she looked at him with disdain. So this is a
Mm.
noun here, right? It's
Mhm.
what she's using to look that her expression has disdain in it.
Disdain, like not giving the person a chance, very close-minded, very negative, right? Um,
Absolutely.
or he's always treated her with disdain. Oh, it's a strange word.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is kind of a strange word, and it also exists as a verb. They are spelled the same, luckily, unlike
Okay,
loathe.
good.
So this is like if you treat someone like they're not worthy of respect, you can use
Mm,
this as a verb.
mm.
So the main way I've seen this is if you disdain to answer questions.
Oh,
This
okay.
is very rare in English that we use this as a verb. When I saw this in the dictionary, there's a verb and a noun. I had to think, I'm like, I don't hear that very often. So
Right,
maybe if
yeah.
someone say like, I disdained to answer the questions or in
Mhm.
present. And this is like because you dislike the questions, or maybe if it were like on a crime show, be like, she
Okay.
disdained to answer. But this is definitely a connotation of you are not answering them because you disagree with them, something like that,
Mm.
right? You don't
Interesting.
respect the questions for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, the courtroom idea, I know in a courtroom, well, at least on courtroom dramas, we hear the word sustained a lot, right? A different word, but maybe in a similar family sort of thing. I don't know.
Good point. Good point.
So
So this is really
interesting.
interesting too to think about. Some of these we use more often in the past tense, right?
Mhm.
We wouldn't really use abhor in the past tense. Be like, I abhorred that film
Right, right,
and
right, right.
I loathed that restaurant. Not really, right? Instead, we usually use these in the present because they're such strong feelings. It's more
Yeah.
like this is something I always will always abhor or loathe because
Okay.
it's a strong, it's hard to like hate something that strongly that just happened once, like one
Okay.
trip to a
Okay. I
restaurant or
see.
something,
I
right?
see what you're saying. So it's almost like a state of being, this
Yes,
feeling, almost like state of feeling,
exactly.
this
That's how
idea, right?
strong it
Mhm.
is, right? If it's something we don't like, we probably would say like, "Oh, I really hated that. I absolutely detested it." Or I would say, "I couldn't stand it
Yes.
means
Also
like,
a great
oh,
thing to say.
really
Yeah.
didn't like it.
Yes, I love that. That's a really important point. So it's the things that we really hate and we've always hated. We just don't identify with those things. We're
Right.
using abhor or loathe, whereas it's
Exactly.
a single experience or a movie or a meal. Lighter things like hate. I
Yeah.
mean, light is not hate is not light, but
Like, we
but
don't get that
more.
passionate about, like,
Yeah.
an individual experience, right? So these
Yes.
words, this is what's important to pay attention to here is these words really signify a passionate dislike.
Hmm.
And so it is strange if you use them. We don't even really use them jokingly to talk about how much we dislike something. I guess you could. You'd be like, "Oh, I loathe spinach." And you're just joking, right? But
Maybe.
for the
Yeah.
most part, it's for things that you really hate, feel very strongly about.
All right, good to know. Excellent. Okay, Aubrey, we are back from break. Let's do a role play for today. Here we are discussing the foods that we dislike. Okay,
Okay,
let's
I'll start
see.
us out.
Yeah.
I'm not usually picky, but I absolutely abhor eel.
Really, I love eel rolls at a sushi place. Eel sauce is delicious.
Yeah, it's not for me. I'm loath to even think about eating eel. What about you? Are there any foods that you can't stand?
Yeah, I've always had disdain for masago.
Oh, that's fish eggs, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I loathe it.
Okay, nice. So this is
Whatever it is.
possible that you like really dislike certain foods, and we
Mhm.
would use, abhor, loathe, whatever. But if you just
Yes.
mean to say like, I don't really like that very much, we wouldn't
Yeah.
use these bigger, stronger words.
I think a lot of people have issues around texture, right? The texture of things. Even some people don't like the texture of eggs, but sort of
Hmm.
fish eggs, the texture, I think people probably struggle with,
That's
right?
why I like eel, but I know someone who
Me
doesn't,
too.
and I think it's a texture thing.
Yeah. No, eel is great. When I lived in Japan for my last
Yes.
meal there, my Japanese friends took me to an eel restaurant, a place like in the
Mm.
mountains that specialized just in eel. It was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, it was
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome. And I do love eel sauce. This is me. I think it's so tasty. It's a little bit
Yes.
sweeter on some
Yes.
rolls. Oh, so delicious.
Yes, exactly. Let's go through this. So, again, you said I'm usually not picky, but I absolutely abhor eel. It's kind of a weird word, too, because we are kind of pronouncing the H, aren't we, Aubrey?
Yes, we do have to, right? You hit that H kind of hard. Abhor. And this is another one where you
Yeah.
have to like hit the word hard. You have to emphasize it, just like loathe. It's
Yeah.
a little strange. We're like, I really abhor that. No, you need
Yeah.
the intonation needs to be powerful because the emotion, the passion about the dislike is
Yes.
powerful. The word implies that.
Yeah. We don't want to have that flat affect, right? We want to make sure we are just
Exactly.
putting life into our words here. What else, Aubrey?
Yeah, and then I said, "Oh, it's not for me. I'm loath to even think about eating eel." So this is where it's an adjective. I'm describing myself as loath to think about something.
Very interesting construction, too. I'm
Yeah, so it would
loath
be
to
written
even think.
without the "e" there, right?
Okay. No, either. Good. And then I said, yeah, I've always had disdain for Masago.
Yes,
Okay.
means I've always, and this is an interesting thing to say, like disdain, because it does often imply more of like a lack of respect. So
Yes.
this would be sort of
Yeah.
joking even
Mhm.
to say this about food. Be like, "Oh, I have such disdain for Masago." Like I would probably laugh at that. Be like, "That's really funny,"
Right.
because it
Yeah.
usually does imply more like you are critical of something,
Yeah.
you disrespect something.
Right. For bigger things than just food. Like food is
Yeah,
just a taste. That's all it is. It's sort of one dimensional, right? But for
right.
example, like political parties or certain ways of thinking would be more common for disdain,
Yeah,
right?
that's where you would use it more literally, right? This is kind of
Yes.
more joking, but yeah, you
Yes.
could say you have disdain for a certain political candidate or
Yes.
people who agree
Yes.
with a certain policy. That would be more because it's more of a lack of respect for that.
For sure. And then the last thing that was said was, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I loathe it, right?
Nice. So they
We're
just mean
going,
like I really hate it. Yeah, and this is
yes.
because it's a verb. This would be spelled with an E, Loathe.
All right. Good high level episode for our listeners today at the B2C1 level. I love it.
Yes, absolutely. We want to make sure that you don't miss the episode that inspired this.
hmm
And 2402, right here on All Ears English, should you call someone cheap in English? Where we said sometimes people are loath to spend money. So we used it as an
Yes.
adjective there, so it wouldn't have an E.
Yes. And the connection piece here, guys, for today is it's not always, it doesn't have to be about these positive, amazing things that you're connecting over. You can build just as strong of a connection over things that you loathe and have disdain for. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, right? I feel like that would even bond you closer with someone if
Yeah.
you are sort of willing to admit these more negative things. I don't love everything, right? The people I'm close to, I want to build a stronger connection with. I'm going to admit the things that I really abhor.
Especially if it's very like most people love this thing, but you actually have
Yeah.
disdain
If
for
it's a
it,
hot
right?
take.
Yeah,
Yes.
hot take. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That could build a really strong sense of trust and connection right
True.
there. So that's what
Good
we're
point.
going for. All right. Good stuff, Aubrey. We'll see you in the next episode of All Ears English. And guys, hit the follow button now. All right.
Yes. Awesome. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.